Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, a video game show where we don't talk about the weather and where I'm joined every week by someone who rips and tears until it's done. It's Sema. Hello there, Sema.
Hey, Max. So that makes me think of Doom.
The only podcast where no one mentions the weather. Oh, oops, I just did. No more.
Yeah, no weather, because the weather's fantastic and it's doing just what it should do.
Stop. You know where it's not nice weather? In hell.
Right. That's right.
Where you and I both spent some time.
That's right. And that's a specific hell. Might not be the hell you're thinking of.
Yeah, we did have a debate in the pre-show. Which hell is it? And what, how do we know that it's the right hell? And what is a demon and where do they come from? And who are they really? Let's get to know them. So joining us on the podcast this week is a demon from hell.
Just misunderstood. No. They're not bad.
No, I mean, I think that's one of the clear cases where they're bad. They're just all. Has there ever been like a story? There definitely has. What's David Tennant in Good Omens? He's like he's a demon devil from hell who's not really bad. He's fine. He's cool.
What about Angel? Isn't he a devil?
No, in Good Omens?
In Buffy?
Oh.
No, in Buffy.
No, he's a vampire. He's not a demon, is he?
Oh.
No, there's just a vampire. Vampires.
No, he's not a. Oh, yeah. Well, he's something.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's not a devil.
But okay.
He's a vampire. Because that's like their whole thing.
I know, but they had demons too in that show. I thought, but I could be confusing it with. I don't know.
Very, very well could be. I mean, it's like one of those basically.
Archie
Lucifer from the Lucifer TV show. I would be pretty sure that he was like bad though, right? I mean, he's just anyway. We're going to talk about Doom. Yeah. Doom: The Dark Ages. It is a game of the games, and boy, we had some fun. But first, let's talk about other news.
Good news, everyone.
First up in the news, only because it's Chicago, there was an interview with Mike Pondsmith, a long interview and a long podcast. It's like a 5-hour video if you go and look. It was like I think it was at a con, and Mike Pondsmith was there, who's the sort of like the father of the concept of cyberpunk, and has been involved all the way along in all of these cyberpunk projects. All of the projects that have spun out of cyberpunk in the genre and since have really done a great job of respecting Mike Pondsmith and keeping him connected and involved. I really respect that. Anyway, there's a little bit of a discussion about Cyberpunk 2077 Part 2, and that it's in development and that there's still Night City, but Mike Pondsmith kind of alluded to another city that they would potentially be visiting. And it seemed like maybe he wasn't even supposed to. Maybe he's like letting things slip. But he said, he was talking to one of the devs, and he said, this is looking really good. And and the dev was saying, yeah, think like Chicago gone wrong in like a cyberpunk way. So that sounds really good. And yes, okay, so I'm listening in the chat room already. All of the jokes that's immediately spun out of that, like, well, what does Chicago gone right look like? Chicago's already gone wrong. Blah, 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 blah. Fine. Good. You did it. I like Chicago. Chicago is a great city. If you go to like the Loop and the lakefront and the, North Shore and the museum campus, Chicago is a beautiful city. It is a great city. And in a lot of ways, I think it's one of the best cities in the US, big cities. It's cleaner than New York. It's less crowded and crazy than LA. It's less rainy. Well, not always. It's got more sunny days out of the year than Seattle. Chicago is a great city. In the winter, it gets a little nasty, but that's fine. Chicago in a cyberpunk way, I like it. I like seeing Chicago in media. I like the Batman movies when they're filmed in Lower Wacker and there's a car chase with the Batmobile. Every time I drive on Lower Wacker these days, I'm always feeling like Batman down there. So I can't wait to see what they do.
I see that. Like when I'm reading in a book and they drive down a street that I'm familiar with. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's why you're going to be playing so much of GTA 6, right?
Right. Because I'm so familiar with Florida.
I mean, you are somewhat familiar with Florida. I thought you were specifically talking about that. It's like,
I was talking about reading in books when they would say, I came to the corner of La Cienega and Mulholland or something.
Yeah, well, you're much more familiar with some other areas, but
yeah, I mean, the only time I ever was in Florida was for, a couple business trips, but also Disney World.
Disney World. Is there going to be some GTA 6 in Disney? I bet not.
But no, I don't think so.
That would be great.
It's all Miami, or looks like
I think it is. But that would be hilarious if they do a little vacation Disney World and shoot up the place. All right, so that looks fun. We'll keep an eye out. Lots of time before we're going to see anything out of the cyberpunk genre coming from CD Projekt Red, but can't wait. Also in the news, this one's kind of a sad story, so we're going to have to see what happens. I figured we'd touch on it. There's a bunch of drama. It sounds like Bungie's trying to do the right thing around it. Thank you, Forbes. Big ads in my face. Marathon the game. They tried to make a game. They're trying to make a game. Now, at this point, people are wondering if they're even going to release it or if it's ever going to come out, just because it's kind of just gone so wrong lately in a couple ways. The latest, biggest controversy that's come out is it was discovered, and it wasn't very difficult to discover, which is the real disappointing thing about it. It was discovered that some of the art that's part of the key aesthetic for the game Marathon, which is like an team extraction shooter. Some of the art is stolen from an artist, and it wasn't on purpose by the team as a whole. And they're very apologetic. They've got streams out. They're trying to talk to the artist, and she's the artist. I think her name is Anti-Real. On Twitter, she's trying to distance herself from it. She's not like hiring lawyers, and I was screaming about it. A lot of people are very, very angry on her behalf, though. Key assets of hers were copied into decal sheets. So what decal sheets are in games, it's if you see like the graffiti on a building or the text on a side of a crate, those are all typically done by applying decals, sometimes even in real time in the game. Some of her art was copied and pasted out of her art feed into the decal sheets. Anyway, drama, because also people were kind of like bored and disappointed with Marathon already, and people saying Marathon's going to be dead on arrival, and now they have this drama on top of that. It's just putting Bungie, the team, who all of the people that were trying to create a nice video game, putting just got to be heartbreaking for a lot of those people. And hopefully heartbreaking for the person who's going to get fired over doing the really bad thing by stealing art and inserting it into a AAA title, thinking like nobody's going to notice. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So we'll see what happens. We haven't talked about drama in a while. I do appreciate and I would, if you are interested in the drama, just listen to the devs talk about it and how they're really trying to do the right thing and get, it sounds like even trying to compensate the original artist and, trying to make it right. It's just tough. So don't be hating anybody, because except the person who did the bad thing, who maybe we'll never even find out who that is. But we don't need to be putting more hate out in the world. Hopefully this gets resolved in a way. I like the aesthetic. It's a cool art style, and it's a blend of a lot of art styles. And it's not like they just took her art style. Also, this is an aesthetic which has come from multiple places and is multiple sources of inspiration. But it's not a game that I want to play either, so it was a little tough that way. So we'll see where it goes. Any comments on that, Sema? No, there's not much to
Just
comment
that
on,
I
but
just that I can totally imagine someone doing that because, you have a deadline to come up with something. You're not too you're more worried about the immediate future than the distant future. Like I can see someone doing it even though it's inevitable that it would
yeah,
caught. That's all. Yeah.
yeah, or even just like being really sloppy and making a mistake, like collecting up, like a lot of artists do, collecting up in a paste, a paste area, a bunch of inspirational art, and you just collect stuff, more and more
Right.
stuff over time, and then you kind of like get it mixed up with your stuff, and maybe they were just sloppy and bad at, and irresponsible.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah.
And maybe just like shoved it in and thought, oh wait, no, this one mine? I think this is mine. I don't know. I got to get it out. Deadline, blah blah blah, and they just shove it in there. So yeah.
My point was more that I do see the possibility of bad actors who think they will eventually get away with something that's really obvious.
That true.
But
That's
yeah,
that
yeah.
also. Or yeah, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit in 2 weeks anyway.
Right. Right.
So I don't care what happens tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Like my bonus is going to be paid, and then
Yeah.
as long as that happens.
As long as
yeah.
then nobody will find out until it's too late. So enough of that. Oh no, but I've got another rant about about this next one. What was this? Oh, Atomfall. Okay, so here's another. That wasn't a rant. This next one will be a mini rant. Not really a rant, but headlines. This one's not a bad headline about Atomfall. Atomfall, was immediately profitable despite, all these players playing it on Game Pass. So isn't that great for them? Despite being successful on Game Pass, they were actually profitable and successful. And I've seen this multiple times. And in fact, I was seeing it this week from multiple videos, and there's probably more that content creators are creating right now about Doom, saying Doom is a failure because here, look at this concurrent players on Steam, and we know that Game Pass is equal to 0 revenue, so we're going to discount that completely. So why is Doom Dark Ages a flop? Multiple videos across YouTube, more are popping up probably at this moment saying Doom's a flop because concurrent players on Steam. Because a game is on a service does not mean that they're making no money there. That's crazy. That's crazy to think that. Just because you can't see the revenue because you're pulling up a Steam chart and that's the only data point that you have available to you, doesn't mean that you know what the accounting looks like for the game.
Yeah.
Easy
reporting.
Having a streaming service host your content can be really, really good. This would be like, and this analogy I came up with, this would be like saying, Stranger Things is a failure because nobody's buying DVDs at Best Buy. They're all just watching it on Netflix, just the stupid streaming service. Are you crazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Microsoft.
It's an old analogy, but
it checks out.
Yeah.
It's an older code, but it checks out, sir. Yes. Yes. The estimate is Microsoft pulls in $5 billion a year in revenue from Game Pass. That $5 billion doesn't go into Satya Nadella's pocket. That goes into paying companies like all of these companies that are putting their content on Game Pass and giving them lots of money for it. So just because your concurrent players on Steam number shows you that it's not doing as well as Oblivion, so it's a flop, you're wrong. You're wrong. Or maybe you're wrong. I won't even say you're wrong, but you don't have enough information if that's what you're going by. And you don't know. You still there, Sema?
Yeah.
Is everybody still there?
That?
I don't know, but I don't like that when I'm in the middle of a podcast and Windows does the disconnected from USB.
Right.
So something's broken now, but you won't know what until you hit stop on the podcast and realize nothing got recorded for the last 45 minutes. No, everything looked like it's still going. Are we still? Yeah, we're still live. All right, we're okay. Don't like that. Don't like that. Anyway, yes, that is not a thing you should be doing. So
It happened again.
it happened again. We're gonna keep it rolling, or keeping it rolling.
Never update your NVIDIA drivers.
Everything seems to be working, so I don't know what is going on. Yes, don't update your NVIDIA drivers. That's what Sema says immediately after she updated her NVIDIA drivers for Doom,
Right.
because they were insistent, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Every time you launched the game, they're like, "Oh my God, you need to update your drivers." All right.
And I thought,
fine.
it's been a while. I'll go ahead and do it. It's probably fine.
And it
then
was like
immediately things start not working.
It was like a crappy Windows, pop-up box. They were refusing to launch the game until they told you this message, and yeah. So, last up in the main news, before we have a fun news item, although this is fun, and I don't know why it's fun, but it is. Fallout 76 is getting fishing. It's getting fishing and update and season 21. I like Fallout 76. I like their season model. And anytime I see fishing is getting added to anything, I say, yay, cool. Isn't that awesome? I don't like fishing in games. And I do it. I try it in every game. I'll do it for like 5 minutes. Then I'm like, I'm done here.
I like it too. I wonder if it's has to do with like making it more of a real world or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It just strikes
Like, I
some
feel
chord. Yeah.
If they said, introduce baking to Fallout 76, I might have the same reaction. I don't know.
True. It does make me think, probably not at launch, but should Garden and a Goat have fishing in it? Probably. We're probably going to need to do that sometime. We'll have to get someone who really likes fishing, though, as a consultant. Okay. What do you like about fishing games? Because first, you're crazy. Second, tell us about it, because we're going to need to know. Dune will never get fishing. I don't know. You go down in those, what are those Imperial testing stations, and they're doing a whole bunch of experiments down there. Maybe we'll be fishing for some weird dune fish, sandfish, down in those test stations. Okay, next one. I'm excited to hear from you on this, Sema. Tell me about the WoW housing, because boy, every content creator, every big content creator for WoW, I did a look. I searched like WoW housing, and they're all like, preach, WoW, Bellular, I saw WoW housing. Taliesin, we saw WoW housing. So tell me what they saw. Tell me what happened.
I mean, the reason for that is that they all went to Boston. So like Blizzard invited a number of content creators to Boston specifically to
why
play
Boston?
in housing.
Did they say
why Boston? I had that question too. I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe there's a facility there and it was closer for everyone who was coming from all points. I don't know. Like a I don't know. Anyway, so they played with what they were able to do was play with the housing system for 4 or 5 hours. I basically watched Taliesin's video about it, and then they put out content, and also they were able to do an interview. And his interview was with the guy who was in charge of player housing and the I forget what they call it, like the production manager for housing.
Okay.
Anyway, so Taliesin was very enthusiastic back. He's been enthusiastic about how housing in WoW is working since we started to know anything about it. But a couple of really cool things about it that caught my eye were, one, the objects that you place in the house, inside a house, are actual real objects that you can get up on. And like they made the comment that you can make stairs. Like if you put in a second story, you can make stairs out of just about anything. And so one of the first things that he did was make a little jumping puzzle in his house just to sort of play with that idea and he did it with like single shelves, and he was able to jump over, like put like a little lava pit and jump over that stuff. They also did some talking about their philosophy points about it. One major point was they want the system, the housing, to be fun for a range of levels of interest. Like even if you're just very casual about it, you can easily have a nice looking house, but also deep, so that if you really are into it, like some people are really into dressing their character, if you get really into dressing your house and making it look cool, there's going to be a lot of options for that.
Cool.
Another point that they made that I hadn't really thought about before was that they want to make sure that in no way does the game itself sort of impede or inhibit your action inside your house, to the extent where things like day and night in the game do not get reflected in your house. So like you never have to go into your house and like, oh, it's raining outside and I can't see what I'm doing,
Yeah, which I guess that's fine.
Nothing I'd really thought about. They also commented, and they've said this before, that the plan is to have nothing in the house that progresses the power of your player at all. And like there's not going to be access to AH or
that's the one that caught me up. So two things.
Yeah.
One, I found out what disconnected and now doesn't work. It's my keyboard. So that's fun. So I had to bring up the on-screen keyboard, the Windows on-screen keyboard, and that lovely keyboard has clicks on as default. So that's that click sound you were just hearing.
Oh, okay.
But two, this point that there's nothing in the house that's like, I mean, this won't sound great, but there's nothing in the house that's useful or interesting.
So here's what they said, and this really helped me conceptualize it, is you can pretty much figure that if there's a toy that does that, what you're thinking about, then it'll someday make its way into housing. So like if there were and the example they gave was like there's a toy right now in WoW that allows you to put down a barbershop.
Okay.
So like one day you might have the ability to put down a barbershop in your house.
But doesn't like the little Argent tournament kid allow you to access the auction house?
But he's not a toy.
Oh, doesn't count.
I
as
mean,
a toy?
I get your point, but
I mean, either way, I just found it a disappointing design approach, only because it's still a fine system and it looks really flexible and it looks really creative. It reminds me of, it's like Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Definitely, right. It's definitely not going to be like in Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's a big part of how you travel around from planet to planet. It isn't going to be that.
For two, I have an auction house, a guild bank, a personal bank, and a legacy storage. I have the GTN. I have vendors. I have the Jawa vendors that allow me to buy certain kinds of rare materials that you need for certain kinds of crafting. If I didn't have those things in there, and I have a mailbox, if I did not have those things in there, I wouldn't go to my house. I would have fun setting it up, which I did, like my Yavin stronghold. I like decorated and set it up and put vehicles out there, and I have NPCs that like pace around, and I set up like one of the towers is like a bounty hunter tower with carbonite people hanging on the walls. I haven't been back there in a year, at least. Every once in a while we do like a show off night where we bring people around and I show them that. It's fun to set it up, and that in itself is enough. That I'm not going to say that they shouldn't have done this, because that is it's a whole fun thing to do. And as you get more decorations, you still might like go and like redecorate it again or add things as you go. That's fun. But on a day-to-day basis, I would imagine a lot of people are going to like set it up, decorate it, and then never go back. I mean, why would you?
But I would say the same thing about transmog, right? Like you as a player, once you get an outfit that you like, you pretty much stop shopping.
Yep. I do that. My transmog is like from like 10 years ago, and I still like it, so I'm done.
So like transmog is a major driver of activity in WoW.
Yeah, I guess. True. I mean, so even if people never go to the house, it could still be a major driver, because now you just gave them something to collect. And a lot of people like to collect things. And even if it just went into a a list, a list box on a UI screen, it would be a driver of activity. The fact that you can assemble it and rearrange it and scale it and do cool things and set it up in your house, that's also cool. And is going to be really, really fun to do once. But then, I don't know, I'm just for me personally, I really like having utility in Star Wars The Old Republic. I really liked in Warlords of Draenor, being able to have a little garden and being able to fish. Yeah. And I really like that.
I like that too. I don't completely understand why people thought that was so terrible. I think people didn't like that it made that to get ore and herbs was so easy that then you couldn't get rich off the auction house with them. But that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me that you can't get rich off of me.
Right. So
WildStar is often held up as this paragon of housing. And they took that whole thing to a whole nother level. You could like drop in a mine into your zone. It was like a whole zone. And then you could like go into the mine and mine stuff in the mine. And so, yeah, I don't really get that, like taking all utility out of it being a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's sort of like saying transmog is not going to have stats on it. It's totally meant to be a mini game.
Sure. But I don't think it would break anything for it to also have utility.
Yeah. I don't think people, and I don't know about Blizzard because they probably have some insight into this that I don't know about, but I don't know why people assume that the garrisons in Warlords were bad because people didn't have to leave them. That's what people say, is they think it was bad that it drained the cities because they didn't have to leave it because they could just be in their garrison doing all their whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a true statement. But
for one, I don't know that's a true statement. For two, you could have other utility. I mean, there's still reasons to go to the cities like the vaults and things like that. And for three, do people really care that much about everybody like standing around in Stormwind? I mean, nobody does.
I don't know why that gets people bring that up as a reason. I can see why Blizzard would care, right? Because like if you log into a game and in the main city there's nobody there, that doesn't feel good. But I don't know why players are so into that being a reason.
True. I mean, we have all that utility in Star Wars: The Old Republic. We have like, they're not very useful, but even gathering nodes, all of those things that I mentioned, and the fleet, hub, main city, social area is always packed full of people. Because there's other things that you have to do there that you're never going to have in the stronghold. So, I don't know.
Right. And they did comment. I think what they're building here, though, is a platform that they're going to be able to add things into, sort of ad infinitum. Like they made the comment that a lot of older assets will over time be made into decorations. The reason, but every item now that goes into the game has as part of its design, will this work as a decoration? Because old stuff like might not have a bottom or a back or something, and have to be reworked.
Okay.
To work into this. So I think they're so when people were like playing in the comments about different things they could do, possibly they're thinking, well, what about if you could go out in the world and take a screenshot with your selfie camera? Could you make that into a picture that you could then hang on your wall, which I think is a fantastic idea. And something like that they could do. I'm not saying they will do it, and they certainly didn't indicate that they would do it, but just stuff like that. Or that you could get trophies for, like in Star Wars, you can get the trophies for bosses that you've killed, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's all cool. And it's also a nice reward category that they've now given themselves that they can use as a reward that's not just the same old rewards. It's not like, because Sema already has 10,000 pets, so one more pet isn't as much of a, well, probably still as a driver for Sema, but
And while they didn't talk very much about the exteriors of the house, and they are going to have this thing called neighborhoods, which could be guild neighborhoods, public neighborhoods, like a friend group neighborhood. They one of the things that came up and they were asked was like, how about, well, there'll be like common areas that people can go to in the neighborhood, like a guild hall or a tavern or something like that. And I could see us really liking to have a guild hall.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely would be fun and interesting.
I could definitely see our WoW team rallying the folks together to like decorate the guild hall or have events in the guild hall or yes. Or how about if you could have you could have like
we have a guild ship and we have a guild hall and a guild ship in Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yes,
we do use the guild ship relatively often.
Yeah, we do.
We don't use the guild hall. We have used it for a couple events that were really cool, but
and like right now they have an asset that's a book, right? And then or several assets that are books, but they also have assets that are like several books, so you can, make your library full of books or whatever. But right now there's one of those books that you can actually click on and read, like the book reading panel that you get out in the wild if you come across a book. And so I'm thinking, and some other people have been thinking, that as you come across books in the wild and read them, wouldn't it be cool if that went into some kind of library of yours that you could then place those books in your house? I guess those little tiny details make me think there's going to be a lot over time. And I'm curious to see, they did say, and you're not going to like this, but they did say there's going to be, when you enter your home, there's going to be a loading screen. So like, yes, your house is an instance, which is like you can't look out your window and see your neighborhood.
That is a little bit disappointing. Just because it's already an instance neighborhood, why does the house itself has to be instanced as well?
I don't know if the neighborhood is an instance in the same sense that we're talking about, because they said when they asked if there'd be a loading screen to go into the neighborhood, they said undecided. They haven't decided yet.
Well, I mean, they're going to have 5,000 neighborhoods though, so it's not like
right, but they have all kinds of different ways of sharing stuff. So I don't know what form that's going to take.
Yeah, that's okay. I think that would just be semantics that it's not a loading
well, it's probably
screen.
Right. They do a lot of stuff that's sharded, but there's no loading screen.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, to your point, because you are going into an instance area. However, even if it's not a loading screen to get there, because you're hitting a shard or whatever, it's still only a set number of houses. It would be really fun because it's a whole neighborhood concept of. Well, we'll get to it when we get to see it, because then we'll get to talk about decorating. If you can decorate the outside, well, then that makes it a little bit different, and maybe there's some utility there and so on.
They thought about achievements for your neighborhood placing whatever, or maybe you could have a contest in your neighborhood about like who can do the best Christmas decorations or whatever. That's not what they call it in WoW, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
I would bet we'll have a whole show on this once we can actually get our bad selves into there and get our hands on it.
And other people don't probably think about this, but like there was no word, and maybe it's just kind of a downer topic, and they won't say anything about it. But what happens to a house when a person isn't playing WoW anymore, or leaves the guild,
especially in a neighborhood?
Yeah, I want to know, because I don't. Like I've said this before, I don't want to go into a neighborhood and just see all the empty houses of people I used to play with.
Right.
That have since abandoned me.
Yes. Jimmy.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
That's enough about that.
We'll have a show on that when we can get into it. It will be interesting to see, just even from a game design perspective, because it seems like they've got some strong opinions that run counter to the way the housing works in a lot of other games. Not a lot, but at least a little bit. And we'll see how that works out for them.
I think that the players are benefiting from the fact that they didn't have housing for so long. now they have way more tools and way more flexibility and things that they can do. I mean, not saying
And they're deciding not to do them. But that's okay.
no, that isn't what I was saying. But
Well, I mean,
you do you.
well, I mean, decorating and collecting, cool. No resources. Well, we'll see. And maybe they could expand it over time, and then maybe they could start doing that. Resources, utility, well, all that kind of thing. I think would be much more interesting to me. That's when things get really interesting, because then you might even get close to and crafting, because then you get, why it's interesting. And now because here, this is what I've got on my second screen, because we're about to talk about Dune just a little bit in a second. Because maybe then you would get a little bit into that, kind of touching on a little bit of the survival crafting element. Like, well, what if I did have crafting, like I could build a crafting station in my WoW house, and I could go out and gather materials to build things, because I love that kind of game. So maybe that's all that's sort of like driving my desire for it to be more. I'm not all that interested in just, the decoration collecting. I get a ton of that in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I collect more and more decorations all the time and never even bother to put any of them into my house. It's still fun to collect to get a new decoration because you got a thing.
In spite of my house not really being my house in Star Wars is not really decorated, I still go there all the time. On all my characters are there
because
so it is.
Of the utility, though, right? As travel and mail,
but also yes, right. But also because that's just where I go to log in and log out. That's my spot.
But I wonder if you won't do that in WoW as a result, because there won't be anything to do there.
Well, I don't think it'll be convenient.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
In the coming soon news, again, we're sort of at a little bit of an in-between state for the big AAA games. We do have Elden Ring Night Rain coming out on May 30th. And then I think everyone is just sort of like taking a moment, taking a breath, because on June 6th is the Switch 2, and everything's got a Switch 2 version coming out on June 6th. We do know that there's a couple fun things coming out. One of them is Dune is going to be coming out on June 5th for the early access, June 10th for the main release. And I'm having a big problem right now. You know what my problem is, Sema? I cannot, it's been a while, and I cannot stop thinking about this game. All I want to do is play Dune Awakening. And I've got 2 more weeks before I can play it. It's bad. I spend more time thinking about Dune Awakening and writing notes and watching YouTube videos than I do playing any other game for the past week. It's bad. I gotta get hooked on something else for the next 2 weeks. So I'm gonna try to find something to distract me for 2 weeks to get myself off from just like pondering this, because I'm gonna like be burnt out on Dune Awakening, because in my mind I've played it so hard for the last 3 weeks. In my head, I'm gonna be burnt out on it. It's gonna be sad.
Sounds like you got a fever.
And the only prescription is more spice. The spice must flow. Yes, exactly. I did have another mini rant about Dune Awakening and what content creators are doing around Dune Awakening. There's some really good content creators. Co-Carnage is really good. There's a lot of them. I really like everything that they're all doing. A few of them, though, are, and I've seen a handful of these videos out there from the top content creators, are saying, hey, I'm only a PvE player too. I'm here to answer the question, is Dune a PvE game or a PvP game? And they'll make this statement that it's totally a PvE game also, guys, and you don't need to worry. It's a PvE game. And my answer to that is that's a little bit disingenuous. You can't really say that about the game, because as it stands right now, all of the end game and potentially a whole tier, there's like 7 tiers of gear. You start out in copper, you move up to iron, then you go to steel, and one of the whole tiers may be locked into the PvP zone. And then the response there is often, well, what you can do is you can buy those resources either from vendors or from other players. You could just, you can buy those vendors. So you can sit in the corner and not play all of the end game and just buy those resources to make the gear. Okay, that's not a PvE way to play a game. You're just like buying resources and buying stuff from people. That's almost. Imagine if you played WoW and all raids and all Mythic Plus dungeons were PvP content, only PvP, mandatory PvP, as other players fighting you when you got in there, and saying, well, now it's a PvE game. Yes, all the endgame gear is all locked behind PvP, and all of the endgame content and all of the raids that they release, that's all PvP. But like, just think of all the times that you can wander around Westfall. It's not the same. There is a lot you can do as PvE. I will be playing hundreds of hours, very likely, over the course of the next 2 years as PvE, but I will be disappointed that there will be big chunks of the game if it remains to, if their current design continues.
This is why I never tried New World, is because it was a PvP game. And even when they reworked it to make the PvE elements stronger, I didn't care, because at its heart, it was a PvP. I thought of it as a PvP game, so I wasn't interested.
Right. Because there wasn't the end game also. It was the outpost rush and the invasions, the battles, the wars over towns. And if there's nothing else to do when you get to the end of the game, and that is the content that's coming out, and that is what you're driving for that's your destination, then it's a PvP game.
I mean, I'm just to clarify for myself, I used to PvP. I PvP'd a lot, and that's why I played games like Guild Wars 2, and I did arenas and everything else in WoW. I just got tired of zero-sum games in general.
Yes.
So that's why I stopped PvPing.
And
I don't want my MMO to be zero-sum, because you don't know if you like it or don't like it till you get many, many, many hours into it, really.
Yeah. Also, the way a lot of these games, these large group games, have evolved is numbers always matter. And we're going to be playing with a smaller group of people. And in that, I know that it's just not going to be fun. Even if I want to
That's
PvP,
point,
it's not.
Right.
It's not like Warzone. It's not like a duels. It's 50 on their side and 5 on your side, and there's nothing you can do. Which is disappointing.
Like in Guild Wars 2, the big PvP was you could just join. I mean, you didn't.
It was true. It was like open Zerg of like two factions. It won't really. They haven't. There is Harkonnen versus Atreides, but it doesn't work that way in the Deep Desert. It's your guild. It's guild versus guild. But as I said, I don't want to do the PvP. I'm not excited about it. I am dying to play this game, and I will be playing it a lot. So just for anybody that's like trying to make the point that it's not a PvP game, you can't really say that, is my point to those people. It's almost to the degree, and so like the way the developers try to say it, I hate when they sort of like pose these hypotheticals like, well, it's okay. You can like sit in the corner by yourself in your base, cowering in the corner the whole end game, and have people like bring things to you so you can be their servant and craft for them. Oh, great. That sounds great, guys. Also, the one other analogy, if you really want to take it to the end point, you could say that like Fortnite is a PvE game, because I could just buy skins all day and look at it in my character locker, on the load screen. Wouldn't that be fun? No, it's not.
Just because, to use another sort of example with WoW, more extreme, because people have managed to level to max level without engaging in combat, doesn't mean it's not a combat-based game.
Right, exactly. That also, exactly. Just because there's a possible niche to do a thing doesn't mean it's that kind of game. All right.
But I see Forrester's point, which is what you're saying too. I needs to know more about the end game before committing.
Oh, I'm committed. I'm all in.
I know you are.
I'm just
yeah.
deciding which of the deluxe versions that I'm getting still. But I will definitely be playing on the 5th. I've already sold all my worldly possessions and quit my job, as one should do for any launch of a game that's important to you.
Yeah.
So I am 100% all in. I cannot wait. But yeah, whether I will be playing a couple months from now, that a lot of that depends on just how bad it feels to have the PvP work the way they currently have it designed to work. We'll see. All right, this podcast is brought to you by the upcoming game by Contemplation Games called Garden and a Goat. In order to take my mind off of Dune Awakening, I spent the weekend doing the implementation of our decoration system. So we have decorations to collect, and you will be able to place them in the game. And at least one of them out of our 4, here we go, Sema. I'm gonna call Blizzard on this. At least one of them generates resources. So at least one of the decos has utility and generates resources out of the only 4 that we've implemented so far. So that's going to be fun.
Where's your player economy then?
We're not a multiplayer game, and I never claimed to be. So
that's right. But and yet you can compare yourself to it.
Sure. Compare myself to Fortnite. We have no combat and no fighting, but it's prettier than Fortnite because we don't have Darth Jar Jar. What did I say? Don't get me started on Fortnite. This is also brought to you by
I don't have to.
You
can get yourself started.
Gaming community, AIE-guild.org if you want a group of people to play Dune Awakening with, or if you want a group of people to play WoW with. That's probably one of our biggest divisions and where the guild got started. A real fun place to play. If you want to join a guild that will have a neighborhood they'll be trying, I'm sure, attempting to make work, however Blizzard allows them to. That's a fun place to check out, AIE-guild.org. You can jump the Discord and have fun with everybody who plays WoW in AIE. It's also brought to you by everybody listening and watching and joining us right now, chatting in the chat room. We had a ton of people who checked out our Dune video. It was one of the most popular episodes of the past year, Sema. So we might be coming. The Dune podcast, New Overlords Podcast is now a Dune Awakening podcast. All Dune all the time until we get bored of the PvP 2 months in and then quit. Yeah. So should be fun. Thank you to everyone who helps us make this podcast what it is. All right, Sema, listen to this.
Bishop Creed, we need him.
Launch the Slayer.
That was you, wasn't it, Sema? You blasted down to the planet. You got launched.
I'm the Slayer.
You rip and tear. At least for a couple minutes.
I was absolutely the Slayer for a few minutes.
Yeah. This game is a game, and they've done a really good job. So we're going to talk about it a little bit now. We don't have a ton of things to say. We're not going to break it down too much, but plenty. I played probably a third of the game. So I think I got through, a little less than a third. I got through up to chapter 6, I believe, out of 22. So enough to get most of the weapons. I got to ride the dragon mount. I got to fight, kill plenty of demons and all of that kind of thing. Get in a big mech suit and punch giant bad demon monsters in the face and a lot of that kind of thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're also going to talk about a little bit about the lore and story, aren't we, Sema? Which we tried to figure out, and it's there, but it's, it's not that kind of game.
It kind of reminded me of the experience I had when I thought I would, learn myself up on Marvel comics before I went to see any Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And that it's very disjoint with like superheroes like dying and then coming back to life, or this is the episode where they, retelling the same story, or showing up in places where they weren't, or having relationships that they didn't, or like even going over to DC comics and then coming back. And I mean, I don't think it's the kind of story that you're meant. It's kind of like Lost. You're not meant to like consume the whole thing and see an arc and go, "Oh, that was really satisfying." It's just in the moment. Do you like this show?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's not supposed to be that kind of game. It's not a JRPG. It's not really an RPG. You're not supposed to, live. You want to like live the story of the Dune guy and his story arc of how he evolves. He doesn't evolve. In fact, I made the point in this.
Right. It's almost like he's not a character. It's almost like he's a weapon and everyone around him are the characters that you see.
Right.
You see their story.
Right. In a
like his story is basically
way.
I kill things.
Yes.
Well, specific things.
And in fact, the game starts with him basically having no personality. They wiped his personality. All they leave him, the alien, the maker aliens. I wish they wouldn't call them makers because
me too.
It makes me think of Dune for one. Bless the maker.
Oh.
His comings and goings. But it's also MAYKR. They're like an alien species. It's not like they make anything. They're not that kind of maker.
Right.
They just happen to be the name of them.
Yeah, that set me down a wrong path in the beginning.
Right. But they have leashed him. So this it happens kind of like in the middle of the timeline of all Dune games that you've ever played, if you've played all the Dune games before. So it comes after all the old Dune games, but before Dune 2016 and Doom Eternal. And in the interim there was notes that showed up as codex entries in the previous games for stuff that happened in between. So there is a period after this game, before Doom 2016, where the Slayer gets locked into a sarcophagus and lost for ages. So this happens before that. He ends up in a different place and time to some degree. The Slayer does, and fights as a gladiator for a little while. Earns the respect of the Sentinels, who's sort of like this team of protectors. Becomes like part of their team. But by the time we see him in the start of this game, he's now even have moved past that, and the alien protectors that sort of like lord over and are adopted by this medieval society now that also has technology, the maker, they've leashed him. So they keep him like imprisoned on their, like imprisoned more like as a tool, not like he's a prisoner. He doesn't like sitting around in a cell and pace, but he's like locked down.
He's turned
wiped.
off.
Exactly. That's a really good way to sort of frame it. They like shut him down, turn him off, and then when they need him as a weapon, they turn him on. And they even say early in some of the cutscenes, he's mind wiped, and all they leave him is his hatred of demons. So then they like turn him back on, they beam him down to the planet. You see that in the trailer. There's the commander calling and that was the audio clip that we played, calling him down. It gets beamed down, kills a bunch of demons, fights the forces of hell. Then it gets beamed back up and shut down again. A little bit more happens to the Slayer, but nothing happens to the Slayer from a evolution, personality, character arc development perspective at all. Things happen to him and around him, and but so
and he does understand, like he understands things, like
right.
when
he's
they
not
have
mindless.
Where Commander Tira is telling him why they have to, kill demons in this certain place or another place, because if this happens, that happens, then we're all lost. He gets that.
Yeah.
So
he's not mindless.
Yeah. Right.
And so he'll like shrug and nod and then like go kill more demons. But yeah, he kills demons, and then something else happens to him and it makes him want to kill some demons. And then he ends up in hell, and what does he do? He kills demons, and he ends up like some
right.
Some spoilery things happen, and what does he do? He kills demons. Regardless, what is the game? the game is a Doom game. The game is go out and kill demons. And it's very arcadey in the way of like grab a quarter, put a quarter in the machine and, and shoot a bunch of demons in a really fun way. And it's really, really good at doing that. And that's what the Doom games kind of always were.
And instead of a quarter, it's like watching the story beats.
Yes. Yeah. Your fee for a lot of players, it is like they don't care about the cutscenes. They would like be space barring through it. They just want to go shoot demons. So you say your fee, your cost is to go watch the cutscenes.
If this is your kind of game, I feel like it's an amazing version of it.
Yes.
It's just so fun to watch. I mean, what he looks like, his armor, and when he gets the thing over his heart, and it looks fantastic.
It's a cross between medieval and then all of the more traditional Doom weapons. The shield is a big part of it. We'll talk about that in a second because that does change the gameplay a little bit and the pacing more than any of the other Doom games. But you do get a plasma gun, but you also get a gun that like shoots iron spikes, like a crossbow, and you get a gun that has like a mace ball on a chain, and you also get a flail. You could just like whack them with a mace, but you also get plasma weapons because maybe you're going to need to light up some hollow shields from some of these demons. So it's all of the rest of the aesthetic and story is also that cross between the medieval aesthetic, but also there's the aliens with technology. And what's her name? Commander Thera?
Yeah, Thera.
She's like up in like a spaceship with research weapons and tools and force fields and so it's like it's this cool mix of both. I like the mix of both, and I've always liked that kind of like mix of both of those things.
It's kind of like medieval in the way that Ark is prehistoric.
Yes. Right. Whereas exactly. So Ark it's a bunch of dinosaurs, but it's dinosaurs that their DNA has been replicated into arcs that are floating in space because the technology has corrupted the planet. But it's dinosaurs.
Right.
It's kind of like what this is here. Gameplay wise, it's definitely the same kind of feel of rock, paper, scissors of what the previous Doom games were. There are weapons that are strong against some demons that kind of encourage you to swap weapons, but you have to less often than you did in any of the other previous games. Some of the other previous Doom games went much further that way. Like you would get nowhere if you weren't switching weapons all the time. Whereas here, for like the chapters that I played, between the shield and the shotgun, I was pretty much good. It was potentially more useful to like be swapping into some of the other weapons, like the plasma gun takes down other enemy shielded demons better. But I just got by with the shield and the plasma gun, and the shotgun. That was my favorite. There's also, you can use your shield, you can use your gun, and you can use your melee, but there's resources for each of them. Like the shield can only take so much damage before it breaks. Melee, you can actually, there's kind of like melee ammo. You can only punch so many times before you're too tired of punching and you need to pick up punching resources off the ground. And then there's bullets, and you'll run out of bullets. And what happens is, well, if you want more bullets, you need to punch things. If you want to punch more things, you need to shoot things with your gun. And if you want to get more health, well, then you need to kill demons. And your shield, if your shield breaks one of their shields or their armor, well, then the armor resource falls on the ground and you get one of it's kind of 2 health bars. You have an armor health bar and you have a health bar. So that's another way. It's kind of like rock, paper, scissors is the resources that you might want at the particular moment. You might use the different weapon style or fight style to get those resources. But it's fun. It's fun that way. It gives you a little bit of a reason to be swapping around and doing different things and punching and doing the executions, which are now that you've like shot the demon enough times, it turns purple and you can walk up to it and you can do a special punch move that like explodes it into 1,000 pieces. So which is both satisfying and gets you extra resources.
I was going to say, that does sound satisfying.
Yeah, those are called the executions. So you do want to go for those because then you also get extra resources out of it. And there's special demons, like once every couple chapters where when you do the final execution, you actually get like a permanent upgrade to your health bar or something like that. Little bit of progression in that you're picking up like gold along the way. There's little secrets to the gold. Then you use to buy upgrades for whatever your favorite weapons are or upgrading your shield. The shield though, let's talk about that. Did you play with the shield very much, Sema? Did you like?
No.
It's both a weapon because you can throw it and you get like a spinning saw blade on the outside of it. For weak demons, it just slices them in half. For strong demons, it like sticks in them and embeds in them and stuns them. So then you can like shoot them with the shotgun for a while. And it's also a shield, like you block with it. So if you like watching in the video right now, when you see one of the demons shooting like a green effect at you, it's got like the red effects that you can block, like the red laser blast and the red balls of fire that they're shooting at you. Those you can just block with the shield. But if you block one of the green ones at the right time, it reflects the green ones back and it hurts the demons when you reflect the green ones. Well, we talked about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and how the parry window and the block windows were really, really tight.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing, I think there's 4 settings. So I was playing on the basic setting, not the story level, but the one it starts you on,
right.
Which is like hurt me. It's called Hurt Me Plenty. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. I don't think I only died once, and that was to a bug because I like started a level and it was like it froze me because it was supposed to have like a hint thing that popped up at the time, and I couldn't, so I had to like just like die and start the level over again. Otherwise, I didn't die all through 6 levels, and I'm not that great at these games. And the parry window, block window, is so generous. I could be like 10 yards away, and I could like there's a green thing, and I'm like trying to run over there, and I like block, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll count that, and reflex it back. I could be like, it's coming at me, and I block. And I'm like, oh crap, I missed it. So I block again, and then I block again, and it works. Like, if Clair Obscur, yeah.
I know, like some people are kind of offended by the idea, but I like that games are having these easy modes. Like I really like that. South of Midnight went to the extent that you could just turn off combat altogether.
I heard that even on like the nightmare hardest modes of this game, it's still quite generous, and some people are lamenting that a little bit. But it makes it really fun because then you're just ripping and tearing.
I get that too. Yeah.
It's the point is you just run around and rip and tear. If it was like
you are right, you are supposed to be, a super war machine.
Right. It's not a Souls-like. You're not supposed to sit there and like have to fight through a fight 50 times. You're supposed to just like run around and kill thousands of demons per second. So as I said, if Clair Obscur Expedition 33 would have made their block and parry windows wider and wider, the easier it got to like this level, it would have been great, and I would still be playing that game. It's though because it feels good. You feel bad when you miss a block, and you feel bad when you miss a parry, even if it's not going to hurt you. It still tells you suck every time. Here, I never suck. I get every single one, no matter what I do. And I can just like run around, and they tell you if you're low on health, just kill more demons. Go run around and kill some of the little ones. Your health will fill up. So I'll be like fighting a big boss, and there'll be like a bunch of little annoying demons. And then I'll be like, your health is low. I'm like, all right. So then I just like run around the outside of the arena and kill the little ones. And then I'm like, oh, look, I'm all filled up with health again. Look at me. I'm so good at this game. So it got really, really fun that way. So I think that's fine. I think it's fine for it to be that way. I think some people are lamenting that it's maybe at the hardest modes, it should be a little bit harder, but it's still fun.
And yeah, I'm okay with them lamenting it too. I mean, it's just like not every game is for everybody,
right?
As we've mentioned before.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's disliking it though, because even the people that like might wish it was like harder so that they could feel elite and like better than other people are still having fun because you're running around killing thousands of demons.
Right.
You're doing what the game, having fun, how the game is like allowing you to have fun. The one other thing it's fun to mention, and you see it in the trailers, is the dragon that you fly on. So there's some little, like kind of a little bit of a story even behind that. It's like some dragon that the Slayer fought to a standstill at some point and then decided to befriend. And then they put a bunch of like strapped cyber tech to the dragon, and it becomes his ride then in this game. And he gets to fly around on it. And by I think in like chapter 5, those, spoiler, somewhere in chapter 5, you're gonna get it. I liked it. I liked flying around on it. And in chapter 6, it really comes to fruition because you use it to fly from point to point and then land at that point and do an assault. And it's like many levels, airships, blah, blah, blah. Really fun things going on.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't like is the combat is really gamey. You do have to do some combat on the mount itself. And it's very, very gamey. It's very like mini game, which is there's shielded cannons, and the shielded cannons are going to shoot a beam out at you, and the beam covers half the screen. And if you go onto the other half of the screen and block, well, then you don't take any damage. So you spend the whole time, it's like, oh, now you got to go up. Now you got to go to the left. Now you got to go to the right. Now left, now right, now left. You did it. It's not nearly as fun. It's very mini game-ish, which I didn't like. Not very much. Didn't feel like very much agency or doing much of an interesting thing. And because then as soon as you do left, right, the right amount of times, there's the dragon. He's super cool.
Yeah.
Then your plasma cannon comes online and you can shoot the thing that you're shooting at, and then you go do it again because there's 4 cannons on every ship. And you got to go do that 4 times for every ship. It's like, fine, whatever. But he's cool. He's still fun to fly around on. And if you do take damage, there's like you can like swoop down and there's like these circles that you can fly through to give yourself more health. But even that's very arcadey. So that's that. So arcadey, put a quarter in, have fun with it, and everybody's having fun. It was pretty unanimous that it's a fun game in that way, and it's doing a good job. But wrapped around that, we do have a story. So you did research. You did the research that I did on the story of the Doom guy, which is, again, not much of a story. He's like a Marine, and he got stranded on Mars at some point and had to fight demons there. He ended up like getting so angry at the end of one of the Doom games that he like decides to go to hell and just like hang out there and stay there for indefinitely to go kill demons. But he gets blasted through time and space in some ways to this guy's in the Sentinels. And then tell me your impressions, and we'll debate what the hell is going on with the Sentinels and the Makers and the Wraith and the demons and hell and the Prince.
Well, I don't know if I can do that, but basically what Max is cagily referring to about research is we watched a video on the lore of this game. So it was like a capsule lore of just this game. It didn't go into the whole Doom timeline or anything like that. But it was really, I thought it was interesting. I mean, it's enough story really to make a TV show, I thought. It's just that this you, the player, you're the Slayer. You're not really the story. You're more the weapon, and the characters around you play out the story, which I'm okay with.
Right. Because they're interesting.
Yeah.
Relatively. But they're interesting people.
Yeah. Right. And I said this in the beginning, and the whole thing looks so amazing too, that it's just, I don't know, it's just entertaining.
Yeah. the characters there's humans, right? So the humans are like the main characters. There's the king,
Right.
who never wears a shirt. He's super buff, and he wears a lot of armor, but not over his chest or his abs, because his abs
He
are
has a
so
very
badass.
Square jaw.
There's a very square jaw, and his abs are armor in and of themselves. So he doesn't have to wear armor, apparently. And then there's his daughter, Thera. And she's her own kind of badass. She's like a commander. So she's the one you see in the trailers who's like yelling at the aliens in the ship to send down the Doomslayer.
Right. And they don't want to until they find out that their own, what they really need, their resources that they need, are endangered by all these demons. And they're like, okay, all right, we'll do it then.
Right. Because they've, up to this, there's the king. He's all looking all buff. They've cut a deal. They've kind of cut a deal with the humans where they're going to like help out the humans and protect the humans, but they want the humans to, kind of like take them on as protectors, benefactors. And as part of that deal, they need to like allow the maker to be harvesting power from their world as well. And it seems all hunky-dory, and the humans are happy to do this because they don't realize that, spoilers, maybe it's not as simpatico of a relationship as they think. But they had a god before. It was the Wraith. Some of that power still exists. The maker are like, I know the Wraith is like gone. The Wraith is like a people or a single entity. I don't know, but it's like sleeping or dead or gone, and they don't know. But there's like this guy who's like the bishop, and very selfish and self-serving. You can even see in the trailer is saying like, well, no, we don't want to send down the Slayer because he's got to protect us, man. And
while he's in storage.
Yeah. And Thera's like, well, fine. Then if they knock out this mining base, which is the trailer cutscene, then also your power plant that you're harvesting, it gets destroyed. So there you go. Do what you want. And like, okay, yeah. Send him down.
And he looks like a hut.
He does kind of look like a hut, and they did well in like his animations. He's very like waves his hands around. He's like waving his little servants away, and then he's like fine, and he's like big and flabby, but still like techno alien maker,
right?
And he's got dozen eyes all over his head, but very clean, like a clean. He's not like gross like a Jabba the Hutt, but yeah. So you could guess that maybe he's not as benevolent as is made out to be. And then on the devil side, on the hell side, there's Prince Azric, who's the red armored devil that is obviously set up as an antagonist. But there's two other. There's like the priest, the devil priest, the hell priest, who acts as a liaison to like a board of directors that oversees Prince Azric. So he's got a little bit of a part to play in this. And then the witch, who you also see in the trailers. And the witch, you don't know what her deal is until later. So minor spoilers. She's not a demon or devil from hell. She's like Cthulhu land, and that comes into play as part of the story too.
She's super menacing just all on her own.
Yes. The reason she's veiled is because if her veil came down, you would be able to tell, we would be able to tell what she is, and then we do very quickly. She's got a Cthulhu face. It's like, oh, so she's not a devil, she's Cthulhu person.
I mean, she fights the Slayer one-on-one, more or less.
Yeah, so she's super powerful because she's bringing her Cthulhu power, and she's got her own agenda and plans set, and like is like using Prince Azric in some ways, teamed up with him, but also using him. So there's like they've got their own story. And then there's Thera, the king's daughter, and she's like the liaison to the maker. And the maker have their own corruption and issues going on. And then she becomes like instrumental and important in like bigger transcendent ways like later in the story that you get to learn about too. And amidst all of this is the Slayer, and the Slayer is just there, and that's it, just there, and then just shoots demons, and they point him in different directions, and different things happen to or around or by the Slayer. So the Jay Melman, you came in late in the chat room. Have I played through it? I've played through chapter 6 out of 22. So I've played through enough to try all of the things and play through a bunch of the story, and then I watched some cutscenes for the rest of the story because I wanted to get through it, and I don't know if I'll finish it to the end. But yeah, so it does have a story. The story's cool. It's not an earth-shattering story. But I did find it interesting that the Doom guy is just like there. And it's not even a self-insert because you are the hero in a lot of ways, but not that you have any story behind.
Right. But you're really more like the weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, even almost a slave, because you don't really make your own he does decide some things, but they turn him on, send him down. When they think he's done, they suck him back up into the mothership.
Yeah. But even when he gets to decide, his only decision is, okay, I'm going to kill more demons.
Yeah. Right. His decision is not, no, I can't be bothered.
Or he's not like struggling with any existential crisis or crisis of identity, or do I want to still, why, what is my purpose, or do I want to still kill demons? It's maybe which demon to kill first. Maybe that's it.
In fact, and I don't know why I get so much enjoyment out of this notion, but he really doesn't talk at all. And he says maybe one word in the whole game. And I've watched the cutscene where that happens. And I don't know if it's because I watched the Witcher show. I was expecting a different one word.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fudge. That would have been a good one word.
But it was very effective.
Yeah.
Is one word.
Yeah.
So
it just had one word in the whole game. And it has no impact on anything really. It wasn't like he didn't really even have to say that one word. It was pretty obvious.
Unless maybe I don't want to say anymore, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was like charging up a big giant weapon and pointing it at the building. I mean, it was pretty obvious what the next step was. Anyway, great game, fun game, fun arcadey game, in the good ways of being arcadey, and it was cool. I liked it, and it was weird. I liked it in small doses. I liked it. I played a bit, and then I would get done and I'd be like, "Yeah, that was fun. I'm done." But then I did go back. I kept going back to it. So it's fun enough that when you just want that arcadey, I'm going to shoot a bunch of things and not have to not think very much and not.
I mean, I do get your description of it being arcadey. I do get that, but it's different in a really big way, which is it does have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
You don't just play until you lose.
Yeah. There are like secrets and a little bit of minor exploration and a little bit of collectibles. Like you collect these like stuffed animal toys. It's like a thing that you do in the levels that I found a little weird, but okay. I got a couple stuffed animals in my collection. I didn't 100%. I think I only 100%ed one of the levels that was kind of like a default 100%. But it's fine. Cosmetics, if you want, skins, and stuffed animals. So you can also go back and 100% the whole game that way, and then you can play it on tougher levels.
I mean, that is weird when you think about it. Like, what do you actually do? Just have them in your inventory then?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I didn't see anywhere to like put them or place them. They didn't like go on the dashboard of my dragon mount or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like a little. I mean, it's got a physical model. You see a little stuffed animal. I don't know. All right, but I think that's it. So that's it. Fun game. Fun. I'm going to have to find something else to play the next 2 weeks to keep my mind off Dune. I think it might be RuneScape Dragon Wilds. So I think that might be what I'm playing and that we might talk about next week. So we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, this has been said before.
Yes. But that was kind of like next up in the order anyway. I think so it's a good opportunity to jump into that and try it out. It's a survival game, so you'll get me a little bit of that, scratch that survival itch, and I can pretend that the dragon in the Dragon Wild is a worm, maybe. But that is it for today. All the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com and our videos on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord. You can find that at newoverlords.com/Discord. You can also follow on all the social networks, and we'll keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.